Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Anthony. I just wanted to make I guess kind of a different video today. Let me know what you guys think about this one, and if I should kind of pursue a little bit more in this avenue. This video is going to be about seller psychology, the psychology of the sales process, and the ROI of personal development. So I had a meeting today with a client of mine I've been working with for a couple years. And that's what kind of inspired me to make this video. I was thinking, so I went to her office. They were having some challenges with a commercial building, and we sat there and we talked. You know, we talked about a lot of different things, but we went over some spirituality and some some internal stuff, right? When you're doing that internal work, and that's what I guess the basis of the conversation was. And I thought that was very interesting, and that's something that I kind of wanted to share and talk about, and how that relates to sales and kind of what we do for a living, and kind of what our goals are, right? Because if you're in real estate, I have a roofing business, right? If you're in any type of sales, then there's a lot of psychology that goes into this, the sales psychology. I worked for a company, a big company, one of the biggest corporations in the world, and I worked under the #1 manager in there, and he was the top manager for sales in there. So I got like a 4th degree black belt in sales, and that's all we covered was psychology for years and years and years. It got kind of spooky. It gets to the point to where you already know what the other person's going to say before they say it. And that was very interesting, from my background, and then kind of being exposed to that. I thought that was amazing. So I kind of want to share some of that. I've always wanted to make videos about that, and so I guess this is the first one that sheds a little bit of light on that, just because it seems very relevant. And then I'll tell you one story or a couple of how that's applied to wholesales and real estate and things like that. So when you're first talking to somebody, right, as a tactic, they tell you to build rapport, all that other stuff. And if that's your goal, if you're trying to build rapport as a tactic, then that you're already starting off on the wrong foot. So I hate that they teach people that in sales, but I guess if you don't have any kind of platform, that's a better starting point than any. What I wanted to cover is what happens when you're doing personal development, or you're doing this internal work, because people are wondering what's the ROI of personal development and how that applies and why it applies to sales. I think people they tend to latch on to somebody who's in a growth mindset, right? So whether that's a company, no matter what you're doing, if you're growing, if you're expanding as a human being, then people tend to latch onto that, right? They kind of want to be around that. They want to surround themselves with it. So if you're doing internal work, if you're doing personal development, and you're trying to better your life, yourself, spiritually, financially, physically, you're exercising, you're doing this type of stuff, it creates like an energy draw. And the cool thing about it is you can look at it from both sides, right? Because there's people that are always going to be a step behind you, and there's always going to be people that are ahead of you, no matter what. No matter how successful, no matter how physically fit you get in life, there's always going to be people ahead of you who are way more advanced, and there's always going to be people right behind you. So how does that apply to seller psychology? Well, let's look at a deal that I've done this year, or that I'm still working on. It's going to be the biggest deal of the year so far. I was chatting with the seller. She gave me the number of the property and kind of what she had in mind. And automatically, for whatever reason, right, my brain shut down on her. I just said, you know what? This is not a deal. The number sounds outrageous. Nothing's going to happen here. So I completely let my whole guard down. My whole sales pitch went out the window. Not that I have a pitch, but I have a process, I guess, mentally that I kind of just run on autopilot now, since I've been doing it for so long. But I completely let my guard down. I completely dropped all the way down to nothing. My sales, that sales killer instinct inside of me just completely went to bed. I said, you know what? Who cares? This is not a deal. It's not going to happen. The number's outrageous. I'm not even going to look at it. No big deal. It's all good. So I ended up talking to this seller for about, I want to say, an hour, maybe 50 minutes. It felt like an hour or so. I just got lost in the conversation. I was having fun. We were joking. Next thing you know, we're laughing, and we connected like old friends. I kind of, like I said, I completely wasn't even thinking about the sell anymore. I said, forget it, it's not a deal anyway. And I just connected with this person as a human being. Like I said, not even as a tactic. We're just having a good time. We're just laughing. We shared stories back and forth. I mean, I really felt like I was talking to an old friend, and that's kind of how the pace of the conversation went. Everything was going fantastic. It was just a good experience, just to let this person chat with me and ask questions, and we just bounced ideas off of each other. And just like, if you met somebody like in public, like at a bar, and you just start unloading on each other in a positive way, that's kind of what it felt like. I haven't drank in a year and a half. I've been working on myself too, so but I just use that reference because I can kind of relate to that. You sit down and you're just having a beer, and the guy's next to you, and you say, "Hey man," and you just start carrying on like an old friend. And that's exactly what happened with this seller. So then we decided, okay, hey, by the way, right, I forgot why you called. We started talking about the property. I got the address, I looked it up, and I just saw where it was on the map, and the top of my lid blew off. I said, wait a minute, this looks like a deal. Even at this high price, I said, wow, wait a minute, this looks very interesting, this looks awesome. So I started asking more questions about the property. Hey, this is a great property, what were you thinking? Even at the high price, or what I thought was a high price, it still looked very attractive. So now I'm back into, like, of course, looking at the deal, analyzing it. Is this good? Needless to say, we reached an agreement by first thing in the morning. I sent the offer that night. First thing in the morning, we had an agreement, sent the contract over. And like I said, that's going to be a whale of a deal right there. That one's the one that, for the history books. But the point is that, there was nothing in me about, building rapport as a tactic. I completely forgot about the sale, didn't care about the sale. I was just communicating openly with another human being and just sharing stories and just being a good person. That was, it was, I guess, a teaching experience for myself too, because I kind of, even though I'm conscientious of that, I still forgot about it, and it's something that really hasn't been on my radar. Something, I just do it naturally. I'm in the corner store, I'm talking to a cashier, and I'm talking to different people, and I make them laugh and smile and chuckle, and I kind of forgot that's the most powerful weapon in a salesperson's toolbox, is to just connect with other human beings and let them talk and share stories. And that is building rapport at its core. And just because I had those positive intentions, and like I said, my sales tactics, everything went out the window, it ended up becoming a home run. So I kind of wanted to share that. These sellers, they're reaching out, for help. Some of them know they need it, some of them do not. In the case of a cold call, or a cold email, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're reaching out to them and asking them, hey, would you like to sell? Would you be interested in selling? So sometimes they are a little bit more shut down and their walls are up a little higher. In the case of pay-per-click, they're reaching out to you, they're asking you for help. So the dynamic, it changes a little bit, but all the same rules still apply. So I thought that was pretty cool. This person reached out. We talked. Again, they're looking for you for help. So if you're always in the mindset of how can I help? What can I do to better this person's situation? Can I provide service? Can I provide value? Then you're always going to win no matter what. It's kind of like when you're in sales. If you've been in sales, when you get a sale, you have energy going into the next sale, and then it's easier to get sales after that. So you get another one and another one and another one, and the momentum starts to build on top of itself because you're kind of in the zone, right? The same way that a musician, or the same way that somebody who's in sports, playing sports, they get in the zone. You get in the same thing when you're in sales, because you have an abundance mentality and an abundance mindset. So tying back into the spiritual development thing and the personal development thing, if you're always looking to expand, right, and you're always looking to connect with other human beings and to make other people's lives better that you come into contact with, if you tie that into everything you do, right, the person at the corner store, the just a stranger in public, somebody you pull a door open for, you're always spreading that positivity, and you're always if you're doing that around you all the time, then that's always going to come into the person who you're contacting with, right, in any sales situation. So today, I was just having a conversation with the owner of this building, and again, the whole sale went out the window. We weren't talking about the sale. It became completely secondary, and we started to talk about God and prayer and meditation and fasting, and we kind of went down that road, and I felt more connected to that client than I had ever been before. Not because I was trying to sell anything, just because I wanted to make sure that person was better off than before I got there. Right, so no matter what happens with the sale, no matter what happens with any of that stuff, I wanted them to have, I wanted their situation to have improved somehow, mindset improved somehow, just by the time that I was there in the office. And when I left, I mean, I felt elated. I felt awesome, like I had just done a service to this person, completely forgot about the sale again. And of course, we're gonna do the deal, and the sale went through. But again, it's not using it as a tactic, just being that person, being in that mindset, being able to provide value no matter what. If you walk around like that at all times, you're gonna walk around as a winner, right? If I can go, any person that I touch, any person that I come into contact with, I try to make sure, like I said, even a cashier, just make sure that they chuckle and they smile when I walk out the door, because I can imagine, how bad they're treated throughout the day. So I always try to make sure that anybody I interact with is just a little bit better, a more positive mood, anything, even if it's a hair, even if it's 0.01%, that they get elevated, just that little percentage, then that's what I try to leave everywhere I go. And that carries into your sales, into everything that you do. But in the business world, it carries into your sales, into your partnerships, everything, because people get that. They feel that you're trying to add value to what they have going on. So you have a seller, they reach out to you, or you reach out to them, they have a situation, and possibly, just possibly, we can help this person by helping them offload this property, whether it's a burden, whether they just need to come across some extra cash, right? You never know what their situation is, and that's what you can learn by asking those questions. What for? Today I had a seller. What do you think you're going to use the money for? Is there any kind of urgency? Literally, is anybody dying? Like, is the house burning down? Like, is there any reason that anybody in this transaction, there was multiple errors. I said, is there anybody in this transaction that, like, where the house is burning down and they just need the money right now? And she said, there's several errors, and she said only one of them really needs the money. And she said everybody else might be open to doing some sort of owner finance. So that just tells me a lot of things right there, just looking at what the sale might look like. I feel like, okay, I know one person, their house is burning down, not literally, but they can use the cash sooner than later. And everybody else can wait, might be open to an owner finance. So that opens up a lot of different things. So if we look at, okay, let's say there's 5 errors that I'm just gonna use for round number sake. Let's say the property's worth $100,000, one needs their cash now. That tells me that with about a $20,000 down payment, right? If we can take care of that one error that does need the cash right away, everybody else might be able to be willing to accept payments, right? And that opens up a lot of different channels for us for dispositions and getting rid of the thing, and different strategies, what we might do to get that property, right, or to do the deal. So I keep tying back into the personal development thing, because if your goal really is to help people, right, help them out of a situation, and even if I'm not going to get the deal, I've been doing this more now than ever, and I've done this in my roofing sales, forever, any kind of sale, is I make sure that I just provide value first. So whether they do the deal with me, whether they do the deal with somebody else, I always try to make sure I say, hey, look, I understand that you're going to shop around, and I want you to. And I always say that. I say, it's very smart of you to talk to 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 people, 5 people. It's very smart of you to talk to multiple people so you can get multiple people's opinions. And I always use the phrase, I'm not going to try to steer you one way or the other. I always say that. Right? That's a very, very powerful phrase. I'm not going to try to steer you one way or the other. I'm just going to show you my examples. I'm going to say, here's, you could do 1, 2, or 3, right? If you picked one of those, if I was you, I might do this one, but the other 2 are also great options, right? And then I also say, even if you do the deal with somebody else, even if you use another contractor, even if you go with a different investor, make sure that they do 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. And it has nothing to do with anything except I want them to make sure that they win, they come out on top, nobody else takes advantage of them, and that's it. That's my whole goal. Another thing is that, the personal development, being good at what you do, being excellent at what you do. This is the way that I use that to my advantage is I really and truly feel that if they don't do business with me, that they're, and I tricked myself into this after years and years and years, is that if they don't do business with me, they're going to get somebody who's going to do lesser of a job, whether that's a contracting job, whether it's, somebody who owns a commercial building, whether it's a real estate transaction. I truly feel like if they don't do the deal with me, that I did them a huge disservice, because I was not able to show them the value that I could provide. And again, that's like keeping your confidence up. You know, even if I had to delude myself to tell myself, you know, I'm the guy, I'm the right guy for the job. If they don't go with me, they're losing, I failed. And I really and truly feel that in my heart of hearts. So having their best interest in mind, always staying positive, always working on yourself, always trying to provide value, even if you don't get the deal, even if things don't go your way, you know, that is powerful. It's powerful. I close business like that every single day. Some key phrases that I use, I wanted to share these for psychology, for self psychology, is that's that same one right there, is that, you know, even if you don't go with me, even if you use somebody else, I want to leave you with this. And then if they can't see, some people have messaged me and they said, hey, what should I do if somebody else is in a different market? Or, you know, how do I say, hey, I'm buying in Kansas, but, you know, I'm in Texas. What do you say to that? One of the most powerful phrases that I can think of in sales is, if it's not a big deal to you, it's not a big deal to them. So what I do when somebody asks me, hey, my property's, you know, in X market, have you ever bought here, right? You can think, well, that's a bad thing. But to turn it into a good thing and to turn the tables into my favor, I say, I've never bought there, but I'm not opposed to it, right? So I say, I buy all over Texas. I've never bought in, you know, Amarillo, but I'm not opposed to it. So that makes them feel like, okay, well, maybe I'm not exactly on this guy's radar, so maybe they have that little bit of fear of loss, like maybe this guy's not going to buy the property, but you say, I'm not opposed to it. So you give them a way back in, right? So, you know, you kind of say, hey, I'm not too sure if I'm interested in your property, but I'm also not uninterested. So that's pretty good right there. And then using phrases like, don't worry, this is going to be super easy. Let me worry about that. I'm going to take care of that. You know, oh, that's not a problem. You know, I got that. Don't worry about anything at all. Let me have the headaches. Let me do the complicated part. All of those phrases are like lessening that lessening the burden inside that person's head, and then making them want to trust you more. You know, let me take care of that. You don't have to worry about any of that. I'm going to take care of all that. All those little phrases, you just keep compiling those, just keep saying those. I have an attorney who's gonna help you with that. I have an attorney who can explain that stuff to you. All that's gonna be taken care of at title. If something's, you know, really, you know, to them it's a sticking point, to you it's nothing, right? If it's not a big deal to you, it's not a big deal to them. And then earning that trust. I'm gonna take care of this. I'm gonna make it happen. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. You know, oh, that's super easy. Hey, trust me, I know how you feel. Everybody feels that way. I'm the professional. I'm going to take care of you. I wouldn't even worry about that if I was you. If you just keep on using those phrases throughout the conversation, at the very end, the people, they would want to trust you. They want to go with you. You know, even if your price is not the highest, even if your offer isn't the highest offer, people will still go with you because they like you and trust you more. So that goes back to building rapport, doing the right thing, building people up. You know, I give advice all the time. I just give coaching advice, even like, you know, life advice. So it has nothing to do with the sell. It has nothing to do with the building. Like today, we talked about prayer and meditation and juice fasting, and, you know, we kind of went down that road. And whether the person buys from me or not, that's completely secondary. Whether they accept my offer or not, whether they accept my offer for the property or not, all that stuff is completely secondary. All I want them to know is that when I leave from there, I had their best interest in mind. I did everything that I can to help. I give my best advice. I just want that person to be better off whether they do business with me or not. And people feel that. People will trust you for that. They will appreciate it, and they will do business with you. So that's it, guys. I'm going to cut this video off. It ran way longer than I wanted it to, but that's it. Just a little bit of seller psychology. I have a lot more stuff that goes a lot more in depth. This is just kind of like skimming the surface, how to build rapport, the ROI of you working on yourself and doing personal development, how you can tie that into your sales. And that's it. That's all I wanted to cover today. I appreciate you tuning in and appreciate you watching. If you have any other video ideas, just comment them below, and I will definitely make a video about that. I have one coming up based on pay-per-click. I'm not a pay-per-click expert, but I know enough that it's kind of propelled me or my whole business this year, so that's what I've been working on. But that's the next video. Anything else, let me know. I'm happy to answer questions down below. And everybody have a good day. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, just like, subscribe, click the little bell, all that stuff. It helps the channel. It helps the channel grow. So I appreciate it, guys. Everybody have a good one. Thank you.